You can tell a lot about a man by his rifle, and it ain't usually what he thinks it says. Some of y'all pick precision, some of y'all pick pain, and some of y'all pick pure chaos wrapped in duct tape and nostalgia. Today we're roasting, boasting, and calling out what your favorite rifle says about your soul, or whatever's left of it, after your 4th AR build. If your favorite rifle's Mosin Nagant, well, you're the type of legend who walked into the gun store with a $400 budget, smelled the Cosmoline, and said, "Yep, this is home now." You didn't buy a rifle, you adopted a 9-pound piece of history that moans louder than a haunted house every time you run the bolt. You slapped a $40 optic on it that probably came with free stickers, dialed it in at a gravel pit, and now you think you're auditioning for a gritty World War II movie. You flex about your ammo stockpile like it's a 401k, bragging about Spam cans you scored at Atwood's place for the price of a gas station beef jerky. You suddenly think that you're Lyudmila Pavlichenko with a beard and back problems. You shoot it at 400 yards with ammo made during the Cold War, and you post the targets on Reddit, missing 9 out of 10 shots, but proudly declaring, "She still got it." You also think your shoulder bruises are just badges of honor. You're not shooting a Mosin, you're living a fantasy where Russ builds character, range time smells like diesel fumes, and every trigger pull might summon Stalin's ghost. Respect. If the AR-10's your favorite, congratulations, you voluntarily enrolled in Recoil Management University without reading the course catalog. You looked at the AR-15, shrugged, and said, it needs more violence. You chose a rifle that's basically an angry cinder block chambered in .308, burned $2 for trigger pull just to feel something in this cold, hollow world. Every time you touch off a round, you send a shockwave through your shoulder, your wallet, and probably 3 zip codes. You love telling your buddies it's for long-range precision, even though your zero looks like you just set your sights using a kitchen blender. You keep saying it groups tight at a distance, but most of your shots at 50 yards look like they're spreading rumors, not tightening up. Your range trips are short, not because you're lazy, but because you spent your ammo budget faster than a college kid during bar night. You're not here for ease, you're here for bragging rights, raw American thunder, and an excuse to use the word overmatch in casual conversation. If your ride or die's AR-15, you're deep in Tinker Gremlin mode. You don't just own one, you own 6 uppers, 4 lowers, 2 dozen optics, and a bench full of project guns that are this close to being finished, probably. You spend more time building than actually shooting. You torque everything to specs you saw in a meme, and every conversation at the range starts with, "Bro, check this build out." You got Cerakote jobs flashier than a vape convention and a sling setup that costs more than your truck tires. You got backup irons for your backup irons, an LPVO, a magnifier, a laser, a light that can melt polar ice caps, and none of it is sighted in. You call it future-proofing. You don't shoot to group, you shoot to flex. You're rounds into flexing and 1 round into needing a reshoot because, bro, the wind picked up. But you know what? We love you anyway. Because when the zombies show up, it's gonna be you leading the convoy with an AR that weighs 40 pounds and enough attachments to qualify as a Mad Max prop. Buddy, when you sling an AK-47 over your shoulder, you ain't just carrying a rifle, you're carrying generational trauma and a middle finger to modern precision. You don't trust optics, you don't trust fancy modulator furniture, you just trust raw stamped steel and engineering so stubborn it could survive a nuclear winter, 3 divorces, and a house fire. Your gun still has Cosmoline in places no brush can reach, and you treat that like a feature, not a bug. You brag about not cleaning it the same way CrossFit dudes brag about not stretching before deadlifts. You call AR-15s Barbie guns with the same disgust as a Texan staring at tofu. You say real rifles don't need lube while your mag's rusted tighter than a mason jar lid from 1947. And when it jams, oh buddy, sometimes it does, you just shrug, clear it with a good boot to the bolt, and keep firing like nothing ever happened. You ain't worried about match accuracy or sub-MOA groups, you're worried about survival, and honestly, you're probably going to be one of the last ones standing when the lights do go out. Let me tell you, when you carry a Steyr Aug, well, you didn't just buy a rifle, you bought a lifestyle subscription to tactical drip culture. Now, what you say is that you picked it up for space efficiency, but deep down, you know you just wanted to look like a background character from a cyberpunk movie. Brother, you do. You flex bullpup ergonomics harder than crypto bros flex their Memo coin collections. And your mags? Yep, you got 3, and every single one was acquired at the cost of either a black market organ sale or emotional bankruptcy. Good luck trying to find extras without needing a loan cosigner. You dream in 80s synth music and neon grid lines. You wear Oakleys unironically, and you say ergonomics in casual conversation like it's a love language. And guess what? You probably think Blade Runner's a documentary. You know what? Your entire range kit is so tactical it hurts, and yet you can't reload as fast as the dude with a $600 PSA AR-15 build. You don't even care, because you're the main character, baby, and you look cooler than all of them doing it. Now, when you're running a Car 98K, you ain't just showing up to the range, you're making an entrance, brother. You didn't buy a rifle, you bought a German opera in bolt-action form. Every cycle of that gosh dang bolt is so smooth it ought to come with a leather armchair and a glass of scotch. Every trigger pull sounds like the closing argument at a war tribunal. You don't just shoot, you announce your presence to history through the trigger. Your rifle smells like boiled linseed oil and generational guilt. You spend more money on rare wood polish imported from Bavaria than most dudes spend on ammo for a whole month. You correct other shooters when they say Mausa wrong, and you flex about battlefield pickup condition like it's an extra stat boost in an RPG. And when you finally line up a shot and send that heavy slug whistling down range, buddy, somewhere, an old war movie theme song starts playing spontaneously. You ain't just shooting, you're performing, and the range is better for it. Buddy, if your rifle of choice is a Lee Enfield, you ain't just a history nerd, you're the CEO of Heritage and Hard Facts. You don't just shoot the Enfield, you roleplay an entire World War I trench assault every single reload. You flex that bolt-action speed like it's an Olympic event. You cycle that thing so dang fast, the dude 2 lanes over starts looking for the typewriter making all that racket. And if someone mentions Dunkirk, brother, you bring up Dunkirk so often, people think you were there. Long lines of Starbucks? Dunkirk. Late Amazon package? Dunkirk. Your boss schedules a Zoom call at 4:59 p.m.? Well, at Dunkirk, they had it worse. You're the guy who corrects people's pronunciation of smelly and thinks that sporterizing surplus rifles is a war crime. Your safe smells like beeswax, pipe tobacco, and regret from every army that underestimated British engineering. You're not just carrying a rifle, you're carrying a 100-year-old grudge, and you are fast enough to use it. The minute you pick up a Winchester 1873, you're no longer just Steve from accounting, you're Sheriff Steve, defender of Free Cattlemen's Association. You tell everyone it's about history and craftsmanship while secretly practicing dramatic saloon door entrances in your living room wearing Skechers. You don't just own a lever gun, you live the lever life. Your Instagram feed is 90% sepia-toned range selfies with captions like, "The last of the true men." You call your rifle a gentleman's repeater, like a solemn man delivering the Gettysburg Address while wearing cargo shorts that could smuggle an entire artillery battery. And when you do miss a shot, you tip your hat, real or imaginary, and mutter, "Fair fight, partner," like the range is a Wild West duel. And when you land a shot, you whisper, "Justice served," under your breath. You spin the lever like you're getting ready for some kind of showdown at high noon. You're not shooting for scorecards, you're shooting for the storyline, and buddy, you are the main character. You show up with an FNFAL. You ain't just showing up with a rifle, you're carrying the right arm of the free world and a laminated copy of the Constitution folded in your back pocket. Every 7.62 round you send downrange ain't just ballistic, it's voting for democracy, one steel plate at a time. You talk about battle rifles the way foodies talk about authentic artesian sourdough. You side-eye every dude running 5.56 AR like they just insulted your great uncle's service record. Your loadout probably involves 3 MREs, an Israeli bandage, and a moral patch that says, "I liberate with extreme prejudice." You still call it the right arm of the free world every chance you get, and you say it with the same reverence a grandmother uses when she talks about her secret biscuit recipe. You don't just shoot, you liberate, baby. And when you miss, you blame gravity and communism equally. Every shot you fire echoes with the sound of pure, rugged masculinity from an era when men smoked Camels and drank black coffee and took hilltops with nothing but a dream and bad dental hygiene. You ain't just a guy with a battle rifle, you're a mobile foreign policy statement with a sling. Rocking an SKS means you're living proof that stubbornness beats technology every single time. Your rifle looks like it survived 4 coups, 2 floods, and at least 1 bad breakup, and you wouldn't trade it for anything newer, shinier, or less cursed. You probably cleaned it once during the Reagan administration with a bottle of Windex and half a pack of Marlboros, and somehow it's still going strong. That folding bayonet, not a feature, that's an identity. You pop that bayonet out with a smug grin every time some dude starts bragging about his free-float M-Lock handguard and $700 optic combo. You roll into the range carrying your SKS in a sock, wearing flip-flops and still out shooting dudes who spent 2 mortgage payments at Brownells. You call magazines luxuries and reload clips with the steely resolve of a 1950s movie hero facing inevitable death. Your SKS doesn't jam because it's too tired to fail. Doesn't malfunction, it just gives side-eye and keeps eating steel-cased garbage like it's gourmet. You're not just carrying that rifle, you're carrying the spiritual embodiment of still here, still winning. Buddy, if your favorite rifle's the Barrett M82A1, you ain't just a shooter, you're an extinction event in cargo pants. You didn't come here to tap targets and play footsie at 100 yards. You came here to punch portals into alternate dimensions. $5 a pull? Ha! You call that investment therapy. You spend more on one range session than most guys spend on groceries, and you smile bigger every single time you see somebody 2 lanes down get rattled out of their Crocs by your muzzle blast. And let me tell you, you don't even blink when you drop that behemoth onto the bench and the earth shudders like it's remembering an unpaid debt. Ammo is so expensive your wallet cries every time you open a new box, but you? Oh, you ain't sweating it. You're the kind of guy who uses DoorDash coupons just to afford another mag dump. You didn't pick the Barrett because you needed it. You picked it because you're the kind of legend who knows life's too short not to break sound barriers at the range. And brother, when you fire, clouds part, babies cry, lesser rifles jam out of sheer respect. Now let me tell you something, when your rifle's the CZ Bren 2, you didn't just pick a gun, you picked an aesthetic and a lifestyle that 99% of the range rats can't comprehend. You ain't here for mainstream AR clone builds. Nah, you're here for boutique tactical flexing. You spent 12 weeks explaining how piston-driven rifles are objectively superior, and you'll spend another 12 if anyone so much as breathes the words DI system near you. You're the guy wearing cry pants to his cousin's cookout and arguing about lockup strength like it's a matter of national security. You didn't pick the Bren because it was cheap, easy, or flashy. You picked it because you believe in hard mode excellence. Your 3 optic swaps deep, 6 sling configurations past reasonable, and you're still tinkering, buddy, because that's tactical artistry, and it is never done. Oh man, listen, if your heart beats for the M1 Garand, you are built different. You're the dude showing up to the range smelling like hops number 9 and sheer unfiltered patriotism. You don't say ping, you live the ping. It's your ringtone, your morning alarm, and probably your last words. You shoot slow and deliberate because you respect the steel, and you are darn right proud that every time you reload, a bald eagle somewhere wipes a tear from its eye. You bring surplus web gear to the range not because you have to, but because it's spiritually correct. You wear OD green like it's a second skin, and you flex surplus canteens like they're Gucci. You ain't worried about your rifle being heavy, you call that character development. You're out here slinging 30-06 rounds and making Gen Z gun owners wonder why their wrists hurt after 30 rounds. You think modern rifles are cheating, and brother, you say it with your chest. The M1 Garand ain't just your rifle, it's your identity. And buddy, it's a better one than half of these TikTok operators could dream of. My friend, when you choose an HK91, you're entering a long-term abusive relationship with recoil, and you're loving every minute of it. You didn't pick soft shooting ARs, you picked violence. Every pull of that roller delayed trigger is a marriage proposal to pain. And you ain't worried about ergonomics, you're worried about if your shoulder socket still works after 60 rounds. You flex German engineering harder than a BMW owner in the left lane going 130, but you accept the cost. The cost that includes parts that look like they were engineered by sadists with CAD software, mags that fall out of circulation faster than memes, and optic mounts that cost more than a Glock. You don't eject brass, you launch brass into low orbit. NASA's tracking your casings, brother. And when you tell someone you wouldn't understand, well, you're right, they wouldn't, because they ain't built for this level of pain and pride. Let me tell you, running a Keltec RDB says one thing about you. You ain't afraid to live dangerously. And you didn't buy into the Tavor fanboy cult or Aug elitism. You rolled up and said, nah man, give me the chaotic good bullpup engineered in a Florida garage during a hurricane. You flex downward ejection, superior ergonomics on Reddit while praying to whatever gods you believe in that your trigger pull today doesn't turn into a 4-hour disassembly live stream. You shoot that RDB and it's either absolutely surgical or absolutely cursed, no in between. You accept that fate like a man who's watched every Keltec range disaster YouTube compilation and still clicked add to cart. Your entire range session is a trust fall between hope, jank engineering, and pure spicy ambition. And buddy, when it runs smooth, you are the king of the dang world. You didn't pick consistency, you picked excitement. And in a world full of boring, you are the mad lad who still believes. And there you go, partner. Your favorite rifle ain't just a gun, it's your whole dang personality. Smash that like button, subscribe for more tactical roasting, and drop your rifle in the comments so we can roast it next, respectfully, but publicly.